Part 29. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 281. Spiritual World, Teleportation Hall. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. No one has ascended from the lower world for thousands of years. I don't know what the sect master is thinking. He insists on letting us come here to guard. Isn't this a waste of effort? Who knows what the hall master is thinking? But I guess it has something to do with the two guys who ascended last time. The Tiandeo sect got there first last time, and the sect master was very angry. In the teleportation hall, two purple-robed spirit-transforming cultivators Zhangyu and Peng Gao were complaining about boredom. The teleportation hall is actually a hall in the air. No, it's not quite right to say it's in the air, because there is a pillar supporting it below the hall. The exit of the teleportation channel from the human world to the spiritual world is at the ring in the middle of the teleportation hall, or more precisely, it is because this is the exit of the teleportation channel that such a teleportation hall was built, so that various forces in the spiritual world can be stationed here to select their favorite disciples from the human world. It is not quite accurate to say that there are various forces, because there are only three major forces left in the spiritual world now: the demon realm, the heavenly Dao sect, and the void heaven palace. This domain, one sect and one palace, divide up the vast territory of the entire spiritual world. Among them, the demon realm, as the name suggests, is the demon clan force, located in the northern part of the spiritual world, and the core area is the 10,000 mountains. The heavenly Dao sect and the void heaven palace are human forces, each occupying half of the southern part of the spiritual world, and the location of the transmission palace is exactly at the intersection of these three forces. If the demon clan comes from the lower world, it goes to the demon realm, but if it is a human, it will inevitably become the object of competition between the two major forces of the heavenly Dao sect and the void heaven palace. Compared with the spiritual world, the spiritual energy of the human world is too thin, and there is no soul and spiritual power in the spiritual energy of the human world. The peak of the late nascent soul is the limit of cultivation, and the god transformation stage only exists in legends. Basically, those who ascend from the human world to the spiritual world through the transmission channel are all in the late nascent soul great perfection, and are among the top geniuses in the human world. Such geniuses are naturally much better than those who grew up in the spirit world, so all the cultivators who ascended from the human world to the spirit world will be fought over by the two major forces of Tiandeo sect and Xianxia palace, but this situation has not occurred for thousands of years, until more than 500 years ago. Because there have been no cultivators ascending from the lower world channel for thousands of years, Tiandeo sect and Xianxia palace gradually relaxed their garrisoning of the transmission palace. As a result, when Yan Luo Tianzi and Yewuji ascended to the spirit world more than 500 years ago, the garrisoned cultivators of Xianxia palace happened to be lazy and absent, and the two were taken away by Tiandeo sect without any effort. The master of Xianxia palace, who learned of this, was furious and severely punished the garrisoned cultivators who left their posts without permission. With this precedent, the cultivators who were next to garrison the transmission palace would never dare to neglect their duties again. Although they kept complaining, no one dared to be lazy and leave. The teleportation hall has always been guarded by four cultivators, who are basically in the spiritualization stage. The Tiandeo sect and the Xianxia temple each have two people. The demon realm did not send anyone to guard it, because as long as the demon beast ascends, it will definitely go to the demon realm, and there is nothing to fight for. The cultivators stationed in the teleportation hall are replaced every 300 years. This time it is Zhangyu and Peng Gao's turn to guard it. They have just completed the handover with the previous batch of garrisoned cultivators. As for the handover cultivators of the Tiandeo sect, they are still in Pingyang City not far away and have not returned yet. Just as Zhangyu and Peng Gao were complaining, an inexplicable fluctuation suddenly appeared in the circle in the hall, and a teleportation channel appeared. The teleportation channel appeared, Someone ascended from the lower realm. Zhang Yu was slightly stunned, and then his eyes were filled with ecstasy. It must be a human race, it must be a human race, Peng Gao began to mutter. If the person who ascended was a demon beast, then they could only watch the other party go away. As for saying that they would kill or subdue it, don't joke. The power of the demon domain in the spirit world is still slightly higher than that of the Tiandao sect and the Xianxia palace. Only a fool would embarrass the demons who have just ascended. The demons in the demon domain are relatively loosely managed. They are not enemies of the human race in normal times. Even after the human race enters the demon domain, as long as they do not bully low-level demon beasts, the demons will not intervene if the demon beasts are killed in the battle of the same level. But the situation of bullying the weak is different, especially the demon beasts that have just ascended from the lower realm. Generally speaking, the highest strength is only the late Yuanying Great Perfection realm. They are naturally no match for the stationed cultivators of the Huashan stage. Basically, they will die in one encounter. However, the consequence of this is that a large number of demon beasts will surge out of the demon domain to attack the human race. At that time, the stationed cultivators who take action against the ascended demon beasts will definitely receive the most severe punishment and die miserably. There is no way. Unlike the human world, in the spirit world, the demon race is stronger than the human race. This is an indisputable fact. The exit of the transmission channel was shining brightly. In the expectant eyes of Zhang Yu and Peng Gao, a figure walked out from it. It was Lin Su. It's the human race. It's the human race, Peng Gao shouted excitedly. Great, this time we will definitely be rewarded by the Lord of the Palace. Zhang Yu's face was also full of ecstasy. The people of Tiandao sect were still in Pingyang City for handover. Now only Zhang Yu and Peng Gao were stationed in the transmission hall. In their opinion, this ascended person was 100% in the pocket of their Xianxia palace. They would definitely be rewarded by the Lord of the Palace. Zhang Yu and Peng Gao looked at Lin Su as if they saw a large number of spirit crystals, cultivation techniques, and high-level spirit treasures. Excuse me, is this the spirit world? Lin Su frowned. The cultivation of these two cultivators was comparable to his, and they were both in the early stage of transformation. Why did they look at him so strangely? Yes, this is the spirit world. What's your name? Are you the only one who ascended this time? Zhang Yu looked at Lin Su with shining eyes, and then looked past Lin Su to the transmission channel behind him, expecting that the second person would come out of it, but unfortunately, until the transmission channel was closed, no second person came out of the channel. I am Lin Su, that's right, I am the only one who ascended. Who are you? In fact, it was not only Lin Su who came to the spirit world, but everyone else was in the spirit field space, including the fire dragon Huo Yan. To be honest, Huo Yan was very surprised when Lin Su let him enter the spirit field space. He never thought that Lin Su would have his own space. No, it should be his own small world. After hearing Lin Su say that this small world could eventually grow into a real world, Huo Yan's eyes looking at Lin Su completely changed, from admiration and envy to complete worship and awe. That's right, it's worship and awe. As a dragon, Huo Yan has his own inherited memory. He knows too well what it means to have a complete small world evolved from the initial land. This means that the other party definitely has the strength to grow into a master-level strongman. Originally, Huo Yan still had some complaints about joining the force that Lin Su was going to create. After all, it is not so easy to create a force, especially to create a force in the spirit world. It is even more difficult. The spirit world has masters in the fusion stage, the tribulation stage, and even the Mahayana stage. Although Lin Su has reached the spirit transformation stage, which is unique in the human world for thousands of years, he is too ordinary in the spirit world. There are many people stronger than Lin Su. It is not easy to establish a force. But after seeing the spiritual field space, Huo Yan had no doubts about it. With such a small world, Lin Su definitely has the most basic strength to establish a force. There are many small worlds in the human world, but not in the spirit world. Because of the difference in spatial stability, there are very few independent small worlds in the spirit world. Among the human race, only the headquarters of Tiandao sect and Xianxia Palace have small worlds. This is also the most fundamental reason why these two forces can always exist and develop into the two major forces of the human race in the spirit world. It is precisely because he was determined to establish his own power that Lin Su hid Zhang Yunfan and others in the spiritual field space. Lin Su didn't know if he would encounter any unpredictable troubles after coming to the spirit world. It would be easier to deal with it if he was alone. Now it seems that this decision is undoubtedly quite correct. From Zhang Yu and Peng Gao's words, Lin Su understood their purpose. These two people are monks of Xianxia Palace, one of the two major forces in the spirit world. They are stationed here to lead people who ascend from the human world to their own forces. Lin Su also learned that there was another big force in the human race in the spirit world called Tiandao sect, but the people of Tiandao sect were not here now. Seeing Zhang Yu and the other person hesitating, Lin Su had guessed that the two of them must not want the cultivators of Tiandao sect to see him, so as not to be snatched away by the other party. However, Lin Su knew very well that he wanted to create his own power. He would not join either Tiandao sect or Xianxia Palace, especially Xianxia Palace. He did not like the name. Lin Su did not know what the relationship was between the Xianxia Palace in the spirit world and the Xianxia Palace in the Chaos Star Sea in the human world, but it must be more than just the same name. Not to mention that Lin Su originally planned to create his own power. Even if he did not have this plan, Lin Su would not join Xianxia Palace. Don't forget that the Xianxia Palace in Chaos Star Sea can be said to be destroyed by Lin Su. Sorry, I don't plan to join Xianxia Palace, Lin Su refused directly. What? Why? Zhang Yu was dumbfounded. He thought he had made it clear enough. The promises he made were very tempting to the newcomers who had just ascended. Basically, no one could refuse them. But Lin Su refused. Why? Because I don't believe it. If there were so many cultivation resources, wouldn't you keep them for yourself? Lin Su couldn't say it clearly. He could only sneer and look at Zhang Yu and the others with suspicion. I didn't lie to you. This is true, Zhang Yu said anxiously. Those who can ascend from the lower realm are all geniuses who are rare in the world. Such talents will be fully cultivated whether they join Xianxia Palace or Tiandao section. In other words, the things Zhang Yu promised to Lin Su are what Xianxia Palace will give to Lin Su after Lin Su joins Xianxia Palace, so Zhang Yu is not deceiving Lin Su. Of course, Lin Su also knew this, but it was not important. This was just Lin Su's excuse, so Lin Su still had a suspicious look on his face. After glancing at the two of them, he walked out of the palace. Brother Lin, please reconsider. Joining our Xianxia Palace will give you a promising future. Zhang Yu and Peng Gao still wanted to persuade Lin Su, but Lin Su's pace did not slow down at all. Old Zhang, this kid is stubborn. What should we do? Seeing that Lin Su had already walked to the entrance of the main hall, Peng Gao was anxious. What else can we do? Even if we have to tie him up, we must tie him back. Can we let him fly away with the duck in our mouth? Zhang Yu's face flashed with a ferocious look, and he sneered, Boy, the spirit world is different from the lower world. If you don't reach the stage of transformation and comprehend the great way of heaven and earth, don't think about offsetting the power of the forbidden air. You'd better follow us honestly, otherwise you will be trapped here. The Yama Palace has many ways to restrain the breath, not to mention that Lin Su has the breath-restraining pill in his hand. If he does not actively reveal his cultivation, even if his cultivation is one level higher than his, it cannot be seen. In Zhang Yu's opinion, Lin Su, a newcomer who has just ascended from the human world, has a cultivation level of only the late Yuanying Great Perfection realm. It is simply a foolish dream to want to leave the palace. The spirit realm is similar to the wild ancient domain that Lin Su visited when he was in the immortal realm. Both have no fly restrictions, but this restriction is only effective for those below the God transformation stage. After reaching the God transformation stage, one can comprehend the great Dao of heaven and earth and form one's own Dao to offset the no-fly restrictions. It can be said that if one's cultivation level does not reach the God transformation stage, no matter how high your talent is or how powerful you are, it is impossible to fly in the spirit realm. This teleportation hall is built in the air, with only a thin pillar supporting it. If one does not reach the God transformation stage, it is impossible to fly away from the teleportation hall, so Zhang Yu said this. Just as Zhang Yu finished speaking, Lin Su turned his head and smiled at him with a hint of mockery, then soared into the air and flew away. Zhang Yu and Peng Gao were stunned. Fly, fly, Peng Gao rubbed his eyes in disbelief. How is it possible? How can a cultivator in the nascent soul stage fly in the spiritual world? Bullshit nascent soul stage, he is a cultivator in the spiritualization stage. Zhang Yu's heart was like a stormy sea. He knew very well what the human world was like. With such a thin spiritual energy of heaven and earth, especially without the spiritual energy of soul and spirit, it is rarer to cultivate to the spiritualization stage than to successfully pass the 9 tribulations and ascend to the fairy land. Anyone who can do it is a peerless genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. Originally thought it was just a fat duck, who would have thought that this was a crane? No, we must not let such a genius slip away from our hands. Chase him. Capture him and bring him back by force. The palace master will definitely reward us handsomely. Zhang Yu almost yelled this sentence, then he jumped into the air at the entrance of the palace and chased after Lin Su at the fastest speed. Peng Gao's eyes also released a wolf-like green light, and he followed closely. Thanks to the book friend Ya86140330 for voting for 2 monthly tickets. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 282. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in this spiritual world is so abundant. The human world is not even a little bit worse than the spiritual world. Flying in the spiritual world is not an easy task. It not only consumes the power of dragon energy, but also consumes Dao power. Resisting the restricted air restrictions, Lin Su's flying speed was not too fast. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Of course, Lin Su didn't want to fly so fast. He knew nothing about the spiritual world now. He couldn't just fly around like a headless fly, right? You need to find someone to ask about the situation. Just as he was about to land on the ground and find someone to inquire about the situation in the spirit world, a shout came from far behind him, "Lin Su, stop!" Oh! Annoying flies, it was Chang Yu and Peng Gao who caught up with them. Lin Su frowned helplessly. Many times, you don't want to cause trouble, but trouble will find you, and you can't escape even if you want to. Lin Su feels like this now. Since there is no way to avoid it, there is no need to avoid it anymore. A cold light flashed in Lin Su's eyes, and he landed on the ground. He looked coldly at Chang Yu and Peng Gao, who had caught up and surrounded him one after another, and said, "Is there anything else? Lin Su, let me ask you again, will you join our Xianxia palace?" Chang Yu stared at Lin Su. "I think I've made it very clear, I refuse," Lin Su said with a cold face. "You brat, don't give me a toast or be punished with a fine drink. I let you join because I think highly of you, so don't be shameless," Peng Gao threatened with a ferocious look on his face. "Oh! It's too soft to be too hard, do you really think you are a soft persimmon? Face is not given by others, it is earned by oneself. No matter if it is a toast or a fine drink, I will not eat it," Lin Su snorted nonchalantly. "If you have nothing to do, please get out of the way, I am very busy." Arrogant guy, Peng Gao stared. He had never seen a newcomer who had just ascended be so arrogant, but to be honest, This was also the first time he had seen an ascended person from the lower world in the teleportation hall. "Stop talking nonsense to this kid, just knock him out and take him back." Zhang Yu has completely lost his patience. He can see that Lin Su has no intention of joining at all. No matter what they say, it will be of no avail. Since persuasion does not work, let's be more direct. He didn't believe that Lin Su, a newcomer who had just ascended, would be their opponent. As long as he was brought back to Xianxia Palace, were he afraid that he would not submit? "Little guy, follow me obediently." Peng Gao gave a ferocious laugh and stretched out his hand to grab Lin Su. The surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth quickly gathered in his palm to form a big spiritual hand, and the powerful oppressive force moved toward Lin Su. Lin Su was swept away. A little guy who has just ascended, even if you have reached the stage of becoming a god, how good can you be in using Tao power and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth? Peng Gao looked at Lin Su with some disapproval. The so-called genius only, it's just that the potential is much greater than ordinary people, but potential is not equal to strength. In Peng Gao's view, it is impossible for Lin Su to resist his Tao pressure, and he can only be captured without mercy. Done. Peng Gao's big aura hand had completely covered Lin Su. Chang Yu had a proud smile on his face, but the next moment his expression suddenly changed. "No, how is this possible?" A thunderous dragon roar sounded, and the big spiritual energy hand was broken open. Lin Su jumped out of the gap with a golden dragon claw. The remaining power of the dragon claw directly tore the broken spiritual energy hand into pieces. "Impossible? How could you break my giant spirit hand?" Peng Gao looked at Lin Su in disbelief. The move he just made with his spiritual energy hand seemed casual, but it was actually his unique move, giant spirit hand, spiritual hand. Even if they were both early stage monks, but those with Tao power lower than him had absolutely no power to resist, yet they were actually broken open by Lin Su. And looking at the nonchalant expression on the other party's face, it seems that this is an extremely easy thing. How is it possible? The people in Xianxia Palace are indeed shameless people. Do you want to be aggressive? I'm afraid you don't have the ability. There was a faint murderous look on Lin Su's face. Fortunately, he had reached the stage of becoming a god, otherwise he would have been forcibly abducted by Zhang Yu and the others. No matter how strong Lin Su's physical strength is and how abnormal his combat power is, if he is not in the god transformation stage and has no Dao power, he will never be able to fight back against the masters of the god transformation stage. Even if you reach the stage of becoming a god, you may not necessarily be able to outperform others. For example, the two monks in the early stages of becoming a god from the Xianxia temple in front of you are not weak at all. Don't look at Lin Su, who broke Peng Gao's giant hand, that was broken by using Holy Dragon Claw. After the cultivation level breaks through to the divine transformation stage, the Holy Dragon Claw can no longer be emitted once like before. It can be activated by calling on the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth, which consumes a lot less on itself. If not, Lin Su would really don't dare to use it casually. Lin Su broke through Peng Gao's giant hand cleanly, causing Zhang Yu's pupils to shrink suddenly. He vaguely felt that the newcomer in front of him who had just ascended was not as easy to deal with as he had imagined. Peng Gao's giant hands, not everyone can resist it? Rightward arrow. I didn't see that you are still a tough guy. But boy, you are too crazy. Do you think you can stop the two of us from joining forces by yourself? Chang Yu said. The real energy in his body was already moving, and the surroundings, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, quickly condensed towards his side, and a light blue dagger appeared in his hand. Peng Gao also took out his weapon, which was a large hammer as big as half a man. Lin Su's face darkened. The other party was going to use all his strength. He couldn't be careless. Otherwise, if he really fell into the hands of these two people, the joke would be too big. The higher his cultivation level, the more Lin Su felt the importance of physical strength and martial arts. Dian 5 Elements sword formation was indeed powerful, but it was somewhat insufficient against extraordinary masters. For example, when he was fighting against Xianxia, Dian 5 Elements sword formation could only suppress the opponent, but could not win. When he was dealing with Peng Gao's giant spirit hand just now, Lin Su also clearly felt that Dian 5 Elements sword formation would not work, so he used Holy Dragon Claw. As soon as Zhang Yu and Peng Gao took out their weapons, Lin Su immediately felt heavy pressure. The weapons of these two people were actually mid-grade peak spiritual weapons. And looking at the postures of these two people, Zhang Yu obviously prefers agile attack methods, while Peng Gao is obviously a power type. The power of the two combined is definitely not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2, it is definitely geometrically multiplied. Xiantian finger. The opponent's intention was already obvious, so Lin Su didn't want to waste time talking to them. He directly launched the Xiantian finger towards Zhang Yu. He saw that Zhang Yu was the leader of the two men, and he was probably stronger. He took down the opponent first, at least making the opponent lose half of his combat power. Ah! Despicable guy, Zhang Yu didn't expect Lin Su to attack without any warning, or he didn't expect Lin Su to take the initiative to attack. He was caught off guard and was hit. Although he reacted at the last moment and tried his best to dodge, he was still hit in the right shoulder. A scream mixed with an angry roar sounded, and Zhang Yu's figure shot out to the back. He felt that half of his body was completely unconscious, and at the same time a destructive force spread from the right shoulder. However, in a short moment, the whole right arm turned into ashes under Zhang Yu's horrified eyes, and as this destructive force spread, the body showed signs of continuing to collapse. Damn it, what's this trick? Zhang Yu was shocked and hurriedly used all his strength to suppress this destructive force, but this way he had no extra strength to deal with Lin Su. Asshole, you're looking for death. Seeing that Lin Su suddenly attacked and injured Zhang Yu, Peng Gao was furious and swung the big iron hammer in his hand and smashed it hard on Lin Su's head. Peng Gao used all his strength in this attack, even with a sonic boom. All the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that could be called was completely concentrated on the hammer. The power of Tao completely locked Lin Su, and it was completely a rhythm to smash Lin Su to death with the hammer. Zhang Yu's injury had made Peng Gao red-eyed, and he completely forgot about capturing Lin Su alive in exchange for rewards. Peng Gao, don't hurt his life. Zhang Yu and Peng Gao had known each other for many years and knew each other very well. He knew at a glance that Peng Gao was going to kill him, and he was so anxious that he shouted loudly regardless of his own injuries. Lin Su injured Zhang Yu and crippled his right arm. Zhang Yu actually wanted to skin and bone Lin Su, but he knew he couldn't do that. He had already suffered such a big loss. If he killed Lin Su, wouldn't it be a waste? The right arm was indeed a serious injury, but the spirit world was not short of geniuses and treasures that could regenerate broken limbs. As long as Lin Su could be brought back to Xianxia Palace, the palace master would definitely reward him heavily. Would he still be afraid of not getting the elixir to recover from the injury? Zhang Yu's shouting made Peng Gao slightly stunned, but the giant hammer in his hand continued to smash down without stopping. A huge bang sounded, and the dust spread out with the shockwave generated by the collision. Zhang Yu's face suddenly turned pale, and only two words flashed in his mind: it's over. Peng Gao's physical strength is the strongest among all the cultivators in the early stage of the transformation of the spirit in the Xianxia Palace, even comparable to most of the cultivators in the middle stage of the transformation of the spirit, not to mention that he also used the power of Tao and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. This hammer would seriously injure even ordinary cultivators in the middle stage of the transformation of the spirit, let alone a newcomer like Lin Su who had just ascended. Yes, Lin Su is indeed very powerful. He has the cultivation of the early stage of the transformation of the spirit just after ascending, and his attack power is also very strong. He injured himself with one move, but a strong attack does not mean a strong defense. Under Peng Gao's fatal blow, he was probably smashed into pieces. This is really a big loss, and his injuries are in vain. Just as Zhang Yu was lamenting in his heart, a cold voice rang out, "Is this your strongest attack? Is this all the strength you have?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 283. Zhang Yu looked in the direction of the sound in shock. The first thing he saw was Peng Gao's incredible expression. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as if he had seen something horrifying. No. Impossible. A soft murmur came from Peng Gao's mouth. Zhang Yu followed his gaze and his pupils suddenly shrank. In the huge deep pit of more than 10 feet in radius under the big hammer in Peng Gao's hand, a white hand was holding the big hammer and slowly lifting it up. As the big hammer was lifted up, Peng Gao's face gradually became red. His arms were knotted with muscles and blue veins, but he could not stop the big hammer from being lifted up. Under the lifted big hammer was Lin Su's face full of murderous intent. Zhang Yu's mouth opened uncontrollably, unharmed. Lin Su was actually unharmed. How is this possible? How is it possible? This thought flashed through Zhang Yu's mind for the nth time. He thought he had thought highly of Lin Su, but he was shocked again and again. Humph! With a cold snort, Lin Su lifted the palm of his hand holding the big iron hammer, and Peng Gao retreated Dengdenden repeatedly as if struck by lightning. He retreated 7 or 8 steps before he stabilized his body. The big iron hammer hit the ground heavily, his face was as red as blood, he gasped for breath, and his eyes were full of horror. Not only was there horror, there was also a trace of fear in Peng Gao's eyes that he could not hide. He knew too well the destructive power of his hammer just now. In his rage, he could be said to have used all his strength, and used all the strength of his body and all the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that he could mobilize. In addition to the locking of the power of Taoism, the destructive power of that hammer was definitely the strongest he could send out at this stage, but such a hammer was caught by the opponent. It was not just a forced catch. From the other party's expression, it seemed that the other party took the hammer effortlessly, and even a corner of his clothes was not damaged. This proved that the other party's strength was definitely above him, especially his physical strength was far superior to his. God! Where did this monster come from? When did the newcomers who ascended from the human world have such abnormal combat power? Lin Su looked at Zhang Yu and Peng Gao who were slumped on the ground, and his whole body was boiling with killing intent, but he was a little hesitant. Should he kill these two guys? The experience of narrowly escaping death in the world of cultivation and the years of experience in the chaotic Star Sea made Lin Su understand a truth. He must not have the slightest womanly mercy when dealing with the enemy. The lesson of not killing the snake but being bitten by the snake once was enough. He was not reluctant to attack Zhang Yu and Peng Gao, but he was not sure whether killing these two people would bring him more trouble. The spirit world was a completely unfamiliar interface for Lin Su. He only knew that there were many masters in the spirit world. With his current cultivation level of the initial stage of transformation, he was nothing in the spirit world. There were many people who were more powerful than him. Similarly, Lin Su didn't know whether the spirit world had something similar to the jade tablets of the immortal world. After all, he had just arrived in the spirit world, and the situation was unclear and his foundation was unstable. If he killed the two cultivators from the Xianxia palace now, he might get himself into trouble that he couldn't get rid of. But he felt a little unwilling to let Zhang Yu and the other two go. He had just crippled Zhang Yu's right arm, which greatly damaged the two's face. Judging from their previous performance, they were not generous people. It was certain that they held a grudge. If he let them go, it seemed that it might also plant the seeds of disaster. Damn it, should I kill them or not? Rightward arrow. Just when Lin Su was struggling in his heart, he suddenly noticed two powerful auras coming from the air in the distance. Someone is coming, and his strength is not weak and should be in the early stage of transformation. It seems that there is no time to take the lives of these two people now. You're lucky. Don't bother me again, or I won't show mercy. Lin Su left a cold word, and his figure gradually faded and disappeared, strangely disappearing under the eyes of Zhang Yu and Peng Gao. What a brilliant invisibility technique. What a scary guy. Zhang Yu and his partner were shocked again. They finally understood how ridiculous their idea was. They actually wanted to knock Lin Su unconscious and bring him back to the Xianxia palace. Putting aside the opponent's terrifying combat power that completely crushed the two of them, just talking about this ability to hide his body, if the opponent wanted to leave, the two of them couldn't stop him at all. This time, Zhang Yu was seriously injured instead of being able to keep him. It was a big loss. Hey! Isn't this brother Zhang and brother Peng? What happened to the two of you? Why are you so embarrassed? Lin Su had just disappeared for 2 breaths, and 2 figures flew from the sky and landed in front of Zhang Yu and his partner. One of them said with a hint of sarcasm. Nothing, just a fight with an old rival, don't worry about it, Zhang Yu replied coldly. The matter of Lin Su must not be known to the Tiandao sect. The 2 new people who appeared were the disciples of the Tiandao sect who would be stationed in the transmission hall for the next 300 years. 1 man and 1 woman, the man's name was Shidong Hua, and the woman's name was Liao Bing. Like Zhang Yu and the other 2, they were both in the early stage of the spiritualization. Among them, Shidong Hua and Zhang Yu had some conflicts. Seeing the 2 in a mess, especially Zhang Yu who had a broken arm and was seriously injured, he was shocked and couldn't help but mocking. Of course, brother Zhang is very powerful, so I have nothing to worry about. I just don't know who is the master who can beat brother Zhang and brother Peng like this. I am very interested in seeing him, maybe I can ask for advice. Shidong Hua mocked, but secretly doubted in his heart. Looking at the appearance of Zhang Yu and Peng Gao, it was obvious that they had suffered a loss. This place was located near the teleportation hall, which was quite remote. There should not be any masters around. Moreover, Xianxia Hall was a big force as famous as Tiandao section. Even masters with higher cultivation than Zhang Yu and the others would generally give face to Xianxia Hall and would not attack them. Moreover, Zhang Yu and Peng Gao were not fools and would not be stupid enough to provoke masters. I don't think this is necessary. Peng Gao, let's go, Zhang Yu winked at Peng Gao with a gloomy face. Peng Gao reached out to support Zhang Yu and took him into the air and flew towards Pingyang City. Zhang Yu was now seriously injured and was no longer suitable to be stationed in the teleportation hall. He needed to return to Xianxia Hall for treatment. At the same time, it was necessary to report Lin Su's matter. Strange, these 2 guys seem to be deliberately hiding something. There's something strange. Judging from the residual aura around, the cultivation level of the person who fought with Zhang Yu and the others should also be in the early stage of transformation. Who on earth would be so disrespectful to Xianxia Palace and let Zhang Yu and the others suffer such a big loss without making a fuss? A trace of doubt flashed through Shidong Hua's mind. Let's go and take a look in the teleportation hall first. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 284. Not good, someone has ascended from the lower world. As soon as he entered the teleportation hall, Shidong Hua's face suddenly changed. The remaining space fluctuations in the teleportation point clearly showed one thing, that a space channel had appeared here not long ago. There is only one possibility for the space channel to appear in the teleportation hall, that is, someone has ascended from the lower world. It's the person who just injured Zhang Yu and Peng Gao. Liao Bing also felt the remaining space fluctuations, and recalled the miserable appearance of Zhang Yu and Peng Gao before, and screamed in horror. It's very likely. But it is not ruled out that this ascending person has someone to pick him up, and Zhang Yu and Peng Gao were injured by the person who picked him up. No matter what the situation is, this matter cannot be taken lightly. Bing you immediately report the situation with the secret method. I will go to Pingyang City to investigate. Before Shi Donghua finished speaking, he had already rushed out of the hall and flew into the air towards Pingyang City. It is true that the person who met them may have injured Zhang Yu and the other two, but what if it is another situation? He could have seriously injured Zhang Yu and the other two just after ascending. Could such a monster really appear in the lower world? Watching Shi Donghua leave, Liao Bing was stunned for a while, and then this thought suddenly flashed through his mind. He immediately shuddered and hurriedly took out a sound transmission jade slip to activate the secret method. Shi Donghua was right. This matter must be reported to the sect as soon as possible. At this time, outside Pingyang City, dozens of miles away, Lin Su emerged from the dense forest. My goodness, this spiritual world is really not a place for people to stay. It's too dangerous. Lin Su wiped the cold sweat from his forehead with his hand, took off his torn robe and changed into a new one, turned his head and looked at the quiet dense forest with some lingering fear, and there was a hint of fear in his eyes. Because of the appearance of Shi Donghua and Liao Bing, Lin Su suppressed the idea of killing Zhang Yu and the others on the spot, and left. After flying aimlessly in the air for a while, he found traces of people in the dense forest above the ground. Like the human world, the spirit world also has ordinary people living, secular dynasties, and low-level practitioners. The difference is that the spiritual energy of the spirit world is much richer than that of the human world, and there is also soul energy that can stimulate the power of Tao, so the high-level practitioners in the spirit world are far superior to those in the human world in terms of both quantity and strength. Lin Su encountered two low-level cultivators in the spirit world. In fact, low-level is only relative. The cultivation of the middle stage of Jindan can definitely be classified as a high-level cultivator in the human world, but it is not up to the standard in the spirit world. People who can't even fly are naturally not masters. From the two Jindan stage cultivators, Lin Su learned that they were all cultivators from Pingyang City. They went to the edge of the dense forest just to collect some spiritual herbs and capture some low-level monsters in exchange for cultivation resources. Pingyang City was the nearest city to here, and the shortest route was to go through the dense forest, but in the eyes of the two Jindan stage cultivators, this was no different from seeking death. Although most of the monsters in the spiritual world are concentrated in the monster domain, especially the big monsters above the god transformation stage are almost all in the monster domain or even in the 10,000 mountains, but it does not mean that only the monster domain has monsters. In fact, there are monsters in the mountains and forests outside the city, but most of them are below the god transformation stage, and there are very few in the god transformation stage. As for the higher fusion stage and above, without exception, they all entered the monster domain. In the eyes of human cultivators, monsters are full of treasures, which can help them improve their cultivation and make them live a comfortable life. Therefore, cultivators will enter the mountains and forests to hunt monsters to obtain resources for cultivation. Of course, the monsters will also show mercy to the human race who enter their territory. Devouring human cultivators can also increase their cultivation. For the mutual hunting between low-level monsters and humans, high-level human cultivators will not care, and the monsters in the monster domain will not care either, because in the eyes of the monsters, except for some monsters with noble blood, ordinary monsters and monsters below the god transformation stage cannot be regarded as real monsters at all, and it doesn't matter how many die. In fact, the monsters in the mountains and dense forests are not the most terrifying, but the strange beasts and poisonous insects, poisonous grasses. In the mountains and dense forests, the lethality of such poisonous insects and species is the greatest. Even if the cultivators above the god transformation stage enter it, they dare not say that they can come out intact 100%, which shows how dangerous it is. But Lin Su didn't believe it, or this is the so-called ignorance is fearless. In order to save time, Lin Su chose to pass through the dense forest. It's not that he couldn't fly over the dense forest, but the Taoist power consumed by flying in the air was really huge, and it was really not worthwhile to waste it. Lin Su swore that this was definitely a wrong decision. The danger in the jungle was even more than what the two Jindan stage cultivators had described. The endless stream of poisonous insects and poisonous plants, the terrifying plants that would suddenly move and bite him with their bloody mouths wide open, had been almost non-stop since Lin Su entered the jungle. If it weren't for his strong fighting power and the fact that he had already reached the initial stage of incarnation, he would probably have died in the jungle. After rushing out of the jungle, Lin Su felt that his back was soaked with cold sweat. It seemed that he was too confident. He didn't take it seriously when he heard that there was no one in the jungle who was above the Shenhua stage, and he almost suffered a big loss. Confidence is a good thing, but blind confidence is the way to death. This situation must never happen again. After a moment of alert, Lin Su walked towards Pingyang City. He was very curious about the city in the spirit world. How was it different from the human world? Stop, who are you? Like the cities in the human world, Pingyang City also had soldiers guarding the gate. When Lin Su was about to enter the city gate, he was stopped by two spears. I am Lin Su, what's the problem? Lin Su glanced at the soldiers who stopped him. He was a master in the late Jindan stage, but he could only be a small city gate guard in the spirit world. His cultivation in the early stage of Huashan didn't have much advantage here. You look unfamiliar, not like someone from our Pingyang city. Where are you from? Do you have a soul jade? Lin Su did not reveal his own cultivation. The soldiers looked up and down at Lin Su and asked. I am not from Pingyang city, I am just passing by. What is the soul jade you are talking about, brother? Lin Su did not say that he had just ascended to the spirit world. Because of the dispute with Zhang Yu, he was worried that speaking out would cause unnecessary trouble. But what is the soul jade the other party is talking about? Do you need this thing to enter the city? Where did you come from? You don't even know the soul jade. One of the soldiers guarding the city showed a look of contempt on his face, but another soldier spoke up to clear up Lin Su's confusion. Soul jade is a special jade that can identify identity. If you want to enter the city, you must have a soul jade that can make the soul test stone react. You can't enter the city without a soul jade. Has this brother been practicing outside and never entered the city? Although Lin Su did not show his cultivation, the soldier guarding the city could not see his depth, but instinctively felt that Lin Su was not an ordinary person, so his words were not as harsh as the other soldiers. As for the soul jade, it is actually a symbol of identity in the spirit world. It records the characteristics of a person's soul. It can be applied for in major cities. Once the soul information is processed, it will be recorded. The city guards in all cities have a soul testing stone in their hands. When a person with a soul jade enters, the soul testing stone will react, indicating that the person is registered, which makes it easier to manage the human race in the city. Of course, there are also cases like Lin Su who don't know what the soul jade is, because in the spirit world, there are always some cultivators who live in seclusion in famous mountains and rivers, and rarely or even never enter the city. Such people naturally will not apply for soul stone registration, and naturally don't know what soul stones are. In the eyes of the city guards, Lin Su is such a cultivator who has just come out of the mountains. Such cultivators are usually casual cultivators, generally divided into two categories. One is a country bumpkin who has never seen the world, similar to the mountain hunters in the mortal world, and the other is people with fixed teachers. Although they are all casual cultivators, their strength and status are very different. Obviously, Lin Su's calmness was not like that of a low-level casual cultivator. The soldier guarding the city could not tell his depth, so he spoke politely. So that's how it is. I have been practicing in the mountains with my master. This is my first time traveling outside the mountains. I don't know much about the soul jade. After listening to the simple description of the soldier guarding the city, Lin Su nodded in understanding, no longer hiding his cultivation, and slightly revealed the aura of a cultivator in the spiritualization stage. He smiled at the kind-hearted soldier guarding the city and said, "Brother, I don't know how to handle this soul jade. I'm a newcomer and I don't know anything. I hope you can tell me." A cultivator in the spiritualization stage. Feeling the aura revealed by Lin Su, the two soldiers guarding the city were immediately startled. Wow, this is a master, not a small casual cultivator who has never seen the world. There is indeed no shortage of masters in the spirit world, not to mention the God transformation stage. There are also many masters in the fusion stage, tribulation stage, and even the Mahayana stage, but these masters are basically concentrated in the Xianxia Palace and the Tiandao section. If there is nothing to do, they rarely go to secular cities. Therefore, for a small city like Pingyang City, masters in the God transformation stage are not common. After all, the mayor of Pingyang City is only at the initial stage of fusion. And according to what Lin Su said, he was traveling out of the mountains. He had been practicing in the mountains with his master before. If he could teach a disciple in the God transformation stage, then his master's cultivation level must be above the fusion stage. Although such a cultivation level is not the top in the spirit world, it is also an upper-level master, and it is not something that the two gatekeepers in the nascent soul stage can offend. Oh, this senior is so polite. It's not complicated to apply for the Soul Jade registration. You can do it in the personnel hall of the City Lord's mansion by spending a high-grade spirit stone. How about I take you to do it now? The gatekeeper who had laughed at Lin Su's country bumpkin before suddenly had a flattering smile on his face. His attitude changed so quickly. No need. Lin Su glanced at him, turned his gaze to another city guard with a kind tone and smiled, "Brother, please take me to do it. How about this spirit stone as a reward?" He took out a high-grade spirit stone and handed it over. "This, senior, you are so polite. Please follow me." Lin Su was so generous that the city guard, who had a very kind tone at the beginning, immediately smiled, accepted the high-grade spirit stone, and stretched out his hand to lead Lin Su to the city, leaving the other city guard with a look of regret, secretly cursing himself for his foul mouth, and could only watch others get rich. Although Pingyang City is a secular city in the spiritual world, there are still a few immortal cultivators in the city. A piece of high-grade spiritual stone is nothing to Lin Su, but it is a considerable fortune for the soldiers guarding the city. After all, they can only receive a piece of high-grade spiritual stone as a reward from the City Lord's mansion every month. Now they can get a month's reward just by leading the way. This feeling is too good. This senior, this is the City Lord's mansion. You go to the side door and turn left to the personnel hall. You can apply for the Soul Jade by handing in a piece of high-grade spiritual stone. After leading Lin Su to the gate of the City Lord's mansion and pointing the way for Lin Su, the soldier guarding the city thanked Lin Su again and turned to walk towards the city gate. Now it is his duty time and he cannot leave for too long, let alone accompany Lin Su into the City Lord's mansion, otherwise he will be punished if he is discovered. Lin Su did not enter the City Lord's mansion immediately, but turned into an alley not far away, and released Zhang Yunfan and others from the spiritual field space. They would settle in the spiritual world in the future. Before finding a suitable place to build a mountain gate, they would probably have to stay in the city for a while. Of course, everyone needs to apply for the Soul Jade. There was no excessive explanation, because Lin Su's situation along the way was passed to everyone through the mouth of the Earth Spirit Pig. After praising the rich spiritual energy in the spiritual world, Lin Su and others walked towards the personnel hall of the City Lord's mansion in a mighty manner. The City Lord's mansion personnel hall manager, who was responsible for registration, was a little surprised that Lin Su and his group came to apply for the Soul Crystal at the same time, because the lowest cultivation among Lin Su's group was in the late Yuanying Great Perfection realm. The manager wanted to chat for a few words, but was stared at coldly by Jade Rax Hasa Shenbaiun and decisively shut up. Although Yuluasha did not reveal her own aura, She was after all a top expert in the middle stage of the tribulation crossing stage. How could the power contained in that glance be withstood by a person in the middle stage of the nascent soul stage? She was so frightened that she stopped talking and honestly registered for everyone. The process was not complicated. She just had to pay the spirit stone and then pass her own soul power through a silver white disc to leave a mark. The whole process took only half a cup of tea, and everyone had their own soul jade. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 285. In addition to getting the soul jade to prove their identity, Lin Su and his friends bought a courtyard in Pingyang City with more than 10 rooms. There was no other way. They had already reached the spirit world. They couldn't let Zhang Yunfan and others stay in the spirit field space, right? Although Lin Su's spirit field space had been upgraded to a complete small world, the richness of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was still far behind that of the spirit world. More importantly, the soul essence and spiritual power had not yet been formed, so it was of little help to the improvement of everyone's cultivation. It was okay to use it as a refuge, but forget about cultivating in it. Including the fire dragon Huoyan who had transformed into a human form, there were a total of 9 people and 2 beasts. Staying in an inn was obviously not a smart choice. After discussing it, everyone decided to buy real estate in Pingyang City. Even if they chose the location of the mountain gate in the future, this place could be used as a transit station. The spiritual world is different from the human world. Because the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is extremely abundant, the output of spiritual stones is also large. Even secular cities use spiritual stones as currency instead of gold and silver. The top-grade spiritual stones, which are extremely precious in the human world, can only be considered medium-grade in the spiritual world. The best-grade spiritual stones are truly high-grade spiritual stones. Above them, there are earth-grade spiritual stones and heaven-grade spiritual stones. Of course, these two types of spiritual stones contain great spiritual power, and cultivators below the fusion stage generally do not use them. It cost 20,000 top-grade spiritual stones to buy real estate. This is simply an unimaginable huge wealth in the eyes of ordinary cultivators. Based on the income of the gatekeepers, they may have to save up for more than 1,000 years without eating or drinking to buy such a courtyard with their salary. That is, Lin Su was rich and powerful. He plundered most of the wealth of the Xianxia palace, so he bought the courtyard without blinking an eye. Of course, there are many benefits to doing this, the most important of which is the improvement of status. Those who can buy real estate in the city are either rich or noble. Even if their cultivation is a little low, no one dares to provoke them casually. Are you kidding? Can someone who can casually take out 20,000 high-quality spirit stones be an ordinary person? Who knows if the other party has some extraordinary backstage? The most powerful forces of the human race in the spiritual world are indeed Xianxia Palace and Tiandao sect, but in addition, there are many old monsters living in seclusion. Who knows if this is the direct disciple of any old monster? It is better not to provoke. In this way, the decision to buy the courtyard made by Lin Su and others unintentionally saved them a lot of trouble, especially when Shi Donghua and the cultivators sent by Xianxia Palace entered Pingyang City to inquire about the news. They all avoided the deep mansion where Lin Su and others were, and only checked some houses and inns for rent. After all, no one thought that a newcomer who had just ascended to the spiritual world would have such a large financial resource to buy a courtyard in the city. The search naturally yielded no results. Although there were newcomers in the houses and inns, they had nothing in common with Lin Su. This was natural. It would be strange if there were any results if the direction was wrong. The place to stay was solved, and the harassment from Xianxia Palace and Tiandao sect did not come as expected. Lin Su finally breathed a sigh of relief. Among the crowd, only Lin Su and Zhang Yunfan had reached the initial stage of the transformation of the spirit so far and had the ability to fly. Therefore, after settling down, Only Lin Su and Zhang Yunfan went out of the city to find a place suitable for the mountain gate, and the others could only stay in Pingyang City to practice. In addition to Lin Su and Zhang Yunfan, Xiang Patriarch, Fire Dragon Huoyan, Bald Man Tianyuan and Dragon Tiger Beast had all reached the realm of half-step transformation of the spirit. Seeing that Lin Su and Zhang Yunfan could fly freely in the sky, the four of them naturally could not bear such stimulation. The only way was to break through to the initial stage of the transformation of the spirit as soon as possible. Seeing the four bald men practicing so hard, Zizuir and the other two girls naturally did not want to fall behind. The spiritual energy of the spiritual world was so rich, and there was sufficient soul energy. With their current late nascent soul stage, it was not difficult to break through to the spiritualization stage. In this way, a year and a half passed, and Lin Su and Zhang Yunfan almost traveled all the way around Pingyang City, but still could not find a place suitable for the mountain gate. "Why don't we expand the scope and go to a farther place?" Zhang Yunfan suggested. "No, we can't go any further. If we go any further, we will enter the sphere of influence of the three major forces, which is not safe." Lin Su thought about it and shook his head. Although the entire spiritual world is vast, except for the junction of the three major forces, which is a no man's land, other areas are under the sphere of influence of Xiushan Palace and Tiandao section. As for the demon domain, there is no need to think about it. The human race is absolutely excluded. If the mountain gate is placed in one of the three major forces, it will be discovered sooner or later. The risk factor is too high. Only this no man's land is relatively safe and not easy to be discovered. Lin Su and his team are too weak now and are still in the starting stage. If they are noticed by Xiushan Palace and Tiandao sect at this time, there are only two outcomes. Either they become a vassal of one of them, or they are completely destroyed by others. No matter which situation is that, Lin Su is not willing to see. What should we do? We have almost explored this area of 10,000 miles. There is really no suitable place. Zhang Yunfan frowned tightly. Placing the mountain gate is not as simple as Lin Su thought at the beginning. It is that Lin Su has a complete small world like LinkedIn space. Otherwise, he can only look for a blessed land. But the blessed land is not so easy to find. The ones that have been discovered have been occupied by others. With Lin Su's current cultivation, he does not have the strength to snatch it from others. Bassian Bear King gave Lin Su an idea. He could directly use the spiritual field space as the mountain gate, but he had to find a place to fix it and could no longer keep it in his body. Only in this way could he interact with the spiritual energy of the world in the spiritual world and form a world comparable to or even better than the cave heaven and blessed land, becoming the real foundation for the establishment of a sect. But the right place is not so easy to find. First of all, there must be enough spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Not to mention that it can be comparable to those cave heaven and blessed land, at least it must be a place with relatively abundant spiritual energy of heaven and earth. In this way, the world of the spiritual field space as the inner gate and the selected place as the outer gate can complement each other and promote the development of the spiritual field space faster. Secondly, this place must be secretive enough and cannot be discovered too early, especially by the people of Xiushan Palace and Tiandao sect. In addition to Xiushan Palace and Tiandao sect, there are other forces in the human race in the spiritual world, but they are basically under the control of the two major forces. To put it bluntly, they are vassal sections. They cannot make their own decisions and have no chance to grow and develop. What is the difference between establishing such a force and not establishing it? It seems, there is a place we haven't explored. Lin Su's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. Where is the place we haven't explored? Zhang Yunfan scratched his head in confusion, and suddenly glared. Linzi, you. Are you talking about Gigo? Yes, it's Gigo. Lin Su clapped his hands and said affirmatively. No, no. We can't go there, it's too dangerous. Zhang Yunfan's mouth was big, and then he shook his head. Gigo is a valley outside Pingyang City, with a radius of 1,000 miles. The dense forest that Lin Su passed through when he first came to Pingyang City was outside Gigo. The reason why it is called Gigo is that 99% of those who enter it will die in it, and even some monks in the tribulation period have died in it. It is said that the interior of Gigo is shrouded in black fog all year round, shaped like a ghost domain, and the danger of the death forest outside it can be seen. There are 7 forbidden places in the spirit world, and Ghost Valley is one of them. Since coming to the spirit world for a year and a half, Lin Su and others have already understood some basic information about the spirit world, so Zhang Yunfan immediately objected when Lin Su mentioned Ghost Valley. Yes, husband, let's think of other ways, don't take risks, Zizuir and other women also objected. The more dangerous the place, the safer it is. It is precisely because Ghost Valley is called one of the 7 forbidden places that no one dares to set foot in it, so I have to investigate it. Maybe it is really a good place to set up the mountain gate. Lin Su's tone was firm. He didn't forget the pain after the scar healed. In fact, there was no other place to choose from within a radius of 10,000 miles except Ghost Valley. In order to truly establish his own power in the spirit world, he didn't have to worry about being attacked by Xianxia Palace or Tiandao sect at any time. This risk is worth taking. Besides, this is the spirit world, the space is much more stable than the human world, and the space level is much higher. Tyrant Bear King can already come out of the spirit field space for a short time. Unlike in the human world, he will be punished by heaven as soon as he appears. With the help of this Demon King, he can escape danger even if he encounters danger. What's more, Lin Su can hide in the spirit field space at any time. Listing these reasons one by one, Zizuir and others are somewhat reluctant, but they have to admit that Lin Su's reasons are very sufficient. This is indeed the only choice at present. Lin Zi, I will go with you, so that the two of us can take care of each other, Zhang Yunfan said, and the others also spoke up to go together. Lin Su shook his head, no, you can't help me if you go with me, and you might even distract me. Don't worry, I'll be fine with Senior Bear King and the spiritual field space, wait for my good news. Sister Shen, I'll leave the house to you. It would have been safer if Jade Rakshasa Shen Baiun had gone with him to investigate, but considering that Tyrant Bear King could come out of the spiritual field space to help at any time, Lin Su declined Shen Baiun's kindness. After all, Ghost Valley is known as one of the 7 Jedi in the spirit realm. Who knows when he can come out after this trip? With a great master like her who is in the middle stage of the tribulation at home, he can feel more at ease. After patting his chest and assuring Zizuir and others, Lin Su flew out of Pingyang City towards Ghost Valley. Senior Bear King, are you sure you can come out and save me at any time? In front of Zizuir and others, Lin Su patted his chest loudly and looked full of confidence. When he really arrived outside the dense forest of Gigo, Lin Su still felt guilty and communicated with Tyrant Bear King in his heart. Don't worry, Kid Lin. When did Grandpa Bear ever brag? Tyrant Bear King's confident voice rang in Lin Su's heart, you kid can go in and investigate with peace of mind. Grandpa Bear has a hunch that there must be a place in this Xianxia Gigo that is most suitable for you to set up the mountain gate. Well, my life is in your hands, Senior Bear King. Taking a deep breath, Lin Su's body was filled with evil spirits to form an evil spirit armor, and the Dragon Yuan shield was also propped up. His figure flashed into the dense forest. Lin Su had walked through this dense forest on the edge of Gigo once, when he went to Pingyang City, and it was the only time so far. At that time, he rashly chose to cross the dense forest to save time. At that time, he suffered a great loss because he was not prepared. If it were someone else, he would have died long ago. It was only because Lin Su's body was strong enough and his ability to resist abnormal conditions was strong enough that he escaped death. However, he was still scared and broke out in a cold sweat, especially after knowing that this was actually the outer periphery of Ghost Valley, one of the 7 most dangerous places in the spiritual world. He was even more scared. Since then, Lin Su has never stepped into it again in the past year and a half. To be honest, before today, he really didn't think that he would enter this death forest again, and he was willing to get in. With the experience of the last time, Lin Su was prepared as soon as he entered the forest this time. At the same time, his spiritual sense was fully open, and he didn't dare to be careless at all. After all, he crossed the forest last time, but this time he had to go through the forest to enter the Ghost Valley. According to what he has learned in the past year and a half, the deeper you go into the Ghost Valley, the more dangerous it is, and the same is true for the outer Death Forest. Although there was Tyrant Bear King to protect him, it didn't mean everything was fine. It would take time for Tyrant Bear King to come out of the spiritual field to rescue him. If Lin Su couldn't even hold on for that long and was killed instantly, then Tyrant Bear King would be useless no matter how powerful he was. Facts have proved that Lin Su's caution was quite correct. The deeper he went into the dense forest, the more frequent the dangers he encountered, and the more bizarre they were. For example, when he was walking, a sharp wooden thorn suddenly rushed out from the ground, and the Dragon Yuan shield was instantly pierced like a decoration. Another example was that a bee-like insect the size of a little finger flew out from nowhere and suddenly sprayed a burst of venom from its tail, corroding all the places it touched, and even the ground was instantly corroded into large deep pits, which frightened Lin Su so much that his face turned pale. Another example was when he passed by a seemingly harmless little flower. The little flower suddenly became larger and opened its bloody mouth to bite Lin Su. Attacks like these kept appearing in different forms, and there were very few repetitions. Lin Su was terrified and had to be extremely careful to deal with them. He muttered to himself, no wonder Giga was called one of the 7 forbidden areas in the spiritual world. The dense forest of death on the periphery was full of dangers. Who knows what kind of terrible things he would encounter after entering Giga. Lin Su even had the urge to cancel his plan and return immediately. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 286. Senior Bear King, I have given you the right to enter and exit the spiritual field at any time. You must pay close attention to me. If there is any danger that I cannot handle, you must come out and save me as soon as possible. Lin Su continued to advance cautiously into the depths of the Death Forest, while muttering to Tyrant Bear King in his heart. All right, are you annoying, Lin Kid? You have said this 800 times. In the spiritual field space, Tyrant Bear King rolled his eyes speechlessly. He was almost driven crazy by Lin Su's muttering. But. No buts, Tyrant Bear King interrupted Lin Su's words. If Lin Su continued to mutter, he would really collapse. Don't worry, I will definitely take good care of you. I care about your life more than you do, so from now on, shut up. Tyrant Bear King was really depressed. Why didn't he see that Lin Su was so nagging and so talkative before? Doesn't he know that he and he are now grasshoppers tied to the same rope, and they will prosper together and suffer together? Lin Su was also very depressed. He naturally knew that Tyrant Bear King would not stand by and watch him die. After all, the other party could only leave the spiritual field space for a short time. If he had any problems, the spiritual field space would inevitably collapse. To put it bluntly, Tyrant Bear King would have to be buried with him, and the two of them would be finished together. The reason why he kept asking and mumbling was just to dispel the fear in his heart and shift the focus of his emotions. As he went deeper and deeper into the secret realm of death, the atmosphere became more and more depressing. The endless deadly attacks did not increase much. Lin Su was used to it and even numb to it, but the surrounding environment became quieter and quieter, and the light became dimmer and dimmer. Although the surrounding scenery did not change much, The jungle still looked like a jungle, but it became less and less lively. In such a deadly environment, even the attacks were silent. Of course, Lin Su would not respond to the attacks by hearing. If that were the case, he would have died hundreds of times. He relied on his spiritual consciousness and sense of perception. After responding to attacks became a habit and instinct, Lin Su gradually felt an inexplicable irritability and fear in his heart. The entire jungle seemed to only hear his own breathing and heartbeat. It was dead silent without any life. It was at this time that Lin Su truly understood the real reason why this place was called the Death Forest. It was not only because of the endless deadly attacks, but also because of the dead silence that could make people collapse. Fortunately, there was a person like Tyrant Bear King who could chat with him to divert his emotions. Otherwise, Lin Su estimated that he would have turned around and ran away. Damn it, this is really not a place for people to stay. Lin Su had thought about flying, rushing out of the jungle, and approaching Gigo from the air, but after falling heavily, he decisively gave up. It is indeed possible to fly in this death jungle, but after soaring more than 3 feet, there will be a heavy pressure on the body, and it will increase rapidly with the increase in height. Let alone flying out of the jungle, Lin Su's current limit is 5 feet above the ground. If it exceeds a little, he will be pressed to the ground by the heavy pressure. In a completely dead environment, the passage of time seems to become particularly slow, and people's perception of time will also be wrong. Anyway, Lin Su feels that he has been walking for a long time, so long that he is almost numb. If he hadn't hidden in the spiritual field space several times to breathe and adjust, Lin Su would probably have collapsed long ago. Finally, there was a faint sound from the front, and it seemed that the light was also getting brighter. Lin Su's eyes lit up. Could it be that the exit of the death jungle has arrived? Great. Lin Su's spirits lifted, and he quickened his pace to rush forward. He didn't know if it was because he was close to the edge, but he encountered fewer attacks in this short section of the road. Finally, Lin Su rushed out of the dense forest, and his vision suddenly became clear. Finally out? The Death Forest is the periphery of Ghost Valley. After leaving the Death Forest, you will really enter the interior of Ghost Valley. The further you go into Ghost Valley, the more dangerous it is. However, Lin Su is now full of joy. Finally, he doesn't have to stay in that dead forest anymore. If he stays there any longer, he will really go crazy. After taking a few deep breaths, Lin Su felt that the air was particularly fresh. The spiritual energy of the world in this Ghost Valley is indeed much more abundant than that in the outside world. This is the case before reaching the core area deep in Ghost Valley. It is conceivable how abundant the spiritual energy of the world in the deep area of Ghost Valley will be. This trip is really the right one. Looking around, Lin Su found that he was on a plain. He couldn't see the boundary at a glance. He couldn't help but be a little surprised. Isn't this a valley? How can it be a plain? Moreover, the area of this plain seems to be much larger than the entire Ghost Valley observed from the outside. Could it be that there is a space formation in this Ghost Valley that can contain Mount Sumeru in a mustard seed? With a hint of surprise, Lin Su walked forward, cautiously on guard as he walked. This is the interior of the Ghost Valley, which is probably much more dangerous than the Death Forest. He must not be careless. Strange, there is no danger at all. Is this really the Ghost Valley? After walking for a while, Lin Su did not encounter any danger at all, which was in sharp contrast to the attack that would be encountered once every 5 steps in the Death Forest. He looked up at the sky. Well, the sun was shining, and he could see wisps of clouds above the sky. It was indeed a peaceful and tranquil scene. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was also sufficient. The breeze blew through the grass, and it looked full of vitality. Wait, something seems wrong. How can there be sun here? Lin Su's face suddenly changed. There is no sun in the spirit world, and there is no distinction between night and day, because there has never been a real night in the spirit world. The so-called night is just a slightly dim light. Where does the sun come from here? Break the delusion, Silver Eye. A low shout came from his heart, and two silver rays shot out from Lin Su's eyes and pierced into the sky above his head. The beautiful scenery of the blue sky, white clouds, and plains was broken like a canvas, and what came into view was a scene like hell. In the distance was a dark and steep mountain. Under his feet was a small path that was only more than 10 feet wide, winding into the distance. The rest of the place was a huge lake. This path was the only road across the lake. A burning breath accompanied by a thick bloody smell that made people want to vomit came to his nose. The water in the lake was actually blood red. This was actually a huge blood pool. Lin, you woke up in time, otherwise I would have rushed out to hold you back. I called you for a long time, but you were just dumb and stupid like a demon. The complaining voice of Tyrant Bear King sounded in Lin Su's heart. Lin Su then noticed that he was standing at the bend of the path. If he took one more step forward, he would fall into the blood pool. Cold sweat broke out all of a sudden, and Lin Su felt his back was wet. Although he didn't know what would happen if he fell into the blood pool, it would definitely not be a good ending. Otherwise, how did such a huge blood pool come from? Senior Bear King, you said you called me for a long time just now. When did it happen? I didn't hear it. After taking a few deep breaths to calm down the shock in his heart, Lin Su's mind flashed with what Tyrant Bear King had said before, and he frowned immediately. Didn't you hear it? How is that possible? Grandpa Bear, I was transmitting sound directly to your consciousness. Could it be? Tyrant Bear King was stunned, his face suddenly changed. Could it be that this illusion can even block the power of consciousness? Lin Su's face also darkened. If it was really as Tyrant Bear King said, then the illusion just now was too terrible. Tyrant Bear King was transmitting sound from the spiritual field space to remind himself, but it was blocked by the illusion. If he hadn't remembered that there was no sun in the spiritual world, if he hadn't had the silver eyes that break delusion, he would probably have fallen into the blood pool in the illusion. According to the illusion that can block the power of consciousness, he might have been corroded and swallowed by the blood pool, and he might still be immersed in the illusion until his death. Horrible, really terrible. No wonder this Ghost Valley is called one of the 7 desperate places in the spiritual world. Apart from anything else, this illusion blood pool alone can make those who enter it fail. Think about it. After passing through the dense forest of death with many dangers and a dead silence, as soon as I stepped into the blood pool, I directly entered such a strange illusion. How many people could realize that this was an illusion in time when they were extremely depressed and relaxed? If it weren't for the fact that I didn't see the sun like the human world after coming to the spirit world, which left a deep impression in my heart, I instinctively found something wrong when I looked up at the sky just now. If it weren't for my natural ability of breaking delusion, silver eyes that can restrain the illusion array in the world, if it weren't for my good luck that I didn't fall into the blood pool before I woke up, if it weren't for these coincidences, I'm afraid I would have become a floating corpse in the blood pool now. That's right, with Lin Su's eyesight, he could naturally see that corpses kept coming out of the blood pool and then sank back into it. There were human corpses and huge animal bones, which probably belonged to the demon race. Most of them were only bones, but some were not completely decomposed. These were probably the masters of the human race and the demon race who fell into the blood pool after entering the Ghost Valley. Lin Kid, what are you thinking? Hurry up and leave this bloody place. Such a fierce place, if you stay for a long time, you may get mutants, Tyrant Bear King reminded Lin Su, and he put away his shock and emotion, and his figure flashed forward along the path. Through the illusion just now, Lin Su has realized that he can't rely too much on Tyrant Bear King. This Ghost Valley is too weird. Even if Tyrant Bear King is guarding it, it may not be 100% safe. As Tyrant Bear King said, this blood pool is a fierce place, so it's better to leave quickly. Although he wanted to pass the blood pool as quickly as possible, Lin Su did not dare to run too fast. This blood pool gave him a very strange feeling. Who knows what kind of danger he will encounter? If he slowed down a little, he would not be too late to react even if he encountered any danger. Roar. Facts proved that Lin Su's concerns were correct. Just when he rushed to the center of the blood pool beside him suddenly exploded with a terrifying roar, and a big hand suddenly stretched out from it and swept towards him. This big hand looked like a human hand, but it was dozens of times larger than a human hand. Half of it was bones and half was rotten meat. It was surrounded by a strong aura of death and blood. It looked very slow, but it was in front of Lin Su in just a moment. Transformation. The huge pressure coming in front of him made Lin Su's hair suddenly explode and stand up. He almost subconsciously used transformation, and the afterimage left was instantly torn apart. Lin Su's figure appeared 3 feet away in front of him, and his robes burst instantly, and even the evil armor collapsed. Too scary. Run away, Lin Su was sweating coldly. Without saying a word, he turned into a stream of light and fled forward at the fastest speed. The bone hand did not hit him, but the wind pressure it brought was so destructive. What would happen if he was really hit? Just a bone hand has such power, how terrifying would the body of the bone hand be? Lin Su didn't dare to imagine it at all. He only knew that he was absolutely unable to compete with it now. Roar. The earth-shaking roar sounded again, and the whole blood pool boiled. The owner of the bone hand, a huge figure, emerged from the blood pool. This was a blood-colored demon shadow that looked like a human but was thousands of feet tall. It was surrounded by blood. As soon as it appeared, the overwhelming pressure enveloped the entire blood pool. Lin Su's fast-running figure suddenly stopped and fell heavily to the ground. Under this pressure, all the dragon essence in his body was suppressed. He felt like a huge mountain was pressing on his body and he couldn't move at all. Lin Su even felt that he would be crushed by this pressure in the next moment. Teleport. At the critical moment of life and death, a yellow light shot out from Lin Su's Dantian, revealing the huge body of Tyrant Bear King. He picked up Lin Su in his hand and broke through the space and disappeared on the spot. He teleported several times in succession and passed through the blood pool and Shua drilled into the mountains at the end of the blood pool. Roar. Roar. Lin Su's escape made the blood-colored demon shadow even more furious. In the thunderous roar, the huge white bone palm hit the surface of the pool heavily. The blood in the entire blood pool splashed more than 1,000 feet high, faintly revealing the endless bones at the bottom of the blood pool, which lasted for a long time. Lin Su did not see this terrifying scene. At this moment, he was breathing heavily in the spiritual field space. After leaving the blood pool, the overwhelming pressure disappeared instantly. Lin Su did not even look at the surrounding environment and directly escaped into the spiritual field space. He panted violently for a long time like a bellows, and then gradually calmed down. Lin Su stood up and respectfully bowed to Tyrant Bear King. Senior Bear King, thank you for saving my life. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 287. It doesn't matter. I have already promised that I will come to your rescue when you are in danger. The Tyrant Bear King waved his hand, but his expression was a little solemn. It's just that Grandpa Xiang, I didn't expect that there is a blood demon remnant soul here. No wonder after the Immortal Demon War, you searched everywhere and couldn't find the demon. The whereabouts of the remnants of the clan turned out to be hiding in the lower world. The remnant soul of the blood demon? A battle between immortals and demons. Lin Su was confused when he heard this, but he vaguely felt that the bloody demonic figure he encountered before was probably not as simple as imagined, otherwise the Tyrant Bear King's ability would definitely not have the same expression as it does now. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Looking at Lin Su with a puzzled look on his face, Tyrant Bear King thought for a while and said, "Well, it doesn't hurt to tell you, you will have to go through it sooner or later anyway. Boy Lin, do you know the 3,000 worlds?" After a slight cough, the Tyrant Bear King looked at Lin Su with a smile and said, "I've heard of it, but I don't know what it means." "Please give me some advice from Senior Bear King," Lin Su said honestly. "Well," Tyrant Bear King nodded as if he was a teachable child, and said slowly, "the so-called black and yellow world, the universe is actually composed of different planes and spaces. These planes and spaces are called 3,000 worlds. Does not mean that there are only 3,000, it is just a general term. In fact, it is more than 3,000. These 3,000 worlds have different levels due to their different compositions. For example, the human world, the spiritual world and even the fairy world are worlds at different levels. Whether it is a human monk or a monster, after reaching a certain level of cultivation, you will be affected by an invisible force. The reason for the limitation of power is that its strength has reached the limit of what the world can bear, and if you want to break through, you can only go to a higher level world." Hearing this, Lin Su nodded. It is indeed the case. Just like in the human world, under normal circumstances, one can reach the great perfection state of the late nascent soul stage at most. It is extremely difficult to break through to the divine transformation stage. He is completely an exception, and the spirit transforming liquid that helped him break through does not belong to the human world. The higher the level of the world, the more complete the space structure, the stronger the carrying capacity, the corresponding number will be smaller, and vice versa. For example, the number of low-level worlds like the human world is countless, such as the spiritual world. The number of Zongji worlds has been greatly reduced, and there are even fewer like the fairy world. The only two realms I know of are gods and demons. As for the ultimate world that is said to be above the three realms of gods, demons, and immortals, it is said that only those who have reached the realm of saints are qualified to enter it. Anyway, I have never seen it." Lin Su blinked his eyes and swallowed. There was no record of such secrets in ancient books at all. It was very novel to him. The fear caused by the blood-colored demonic figure had dissipated unconsciously. Phew. Among the three realms of gods, demons, and immortals, the environment of the second realm of gods and immortals is completely different from that of the demon realm. Although the demon realm is full of demon spirits, the environment is extremely harsh and all kinds of monsters are rampant. Therefore, the demons of the demon realm are extremely aggressive. There have been wars with the world of gods and immortals, among which the war between immortals and demons is the most brutal. It is said that at that time, more than half of the saint-level masters in the immortal and demon realms fell, and even the master-level existences fell. The natal green lotus you got, Mr. Lin, belonged to the strongest life master in the human race in the fairy world at that time. It was precisely because he fought to death the three masters of the demon realm that the immortal realm could finally defeat the demon realm and drive them back to the demon realm. I see. Lin Su's eyes widened, and he suddenly understood. Ever since he learned that his destiny Qinglian came from the Lord of Life, he had always had doubts in his mind. Immortals already have endless lifespan, and those at the level of the Lord should have the same lifespan and day as the heaven and earth. How could the existence of Yu Tonghui perish and leave only his original Qinglian? Now after listening to the words of Tyrant Bear King, Lin Su finally understood the confusion, the battle between immortals and demons. Such a war between the two worlds must be extremely brutal. No wonder even a master-level master like the Master of Life would fall. However, one person fought to kill three of the other masters of the same level. This Master of Life was really strong. By the way, Senior Bear King, you said that the Master of Life fought to death the three masters of the demon world. Which three masters were they? Suddenly Lin Su asked as if he remembered something. It's the Inner Demon Lord, the Blood Demon Lord and the Black Demon Lord. Among the three demon masters, the Black Demon Lord is the strongest, but the Blood Demon Lord has the most tyrannical vitality. After his death, his remaining souls were scattered around, but he has basically been destroyed by everyone. Sheng searched for and killed them one by one, but the last remaining soul was missing and could not be found. Unexpectedly, it was hiding in the spirit world. Looking at the sneering face of the tyrant Bear King, Lin Su's heart suddenly struck like a bolt of lightning. Senior Bear King, are you saying that the bloody shadow just now is the last remaining soul of the Blood Demon Lord? That's right, Tyrant Bear King nodded solemnly. I'm afraid this so-called Ghost Valley Jedi was formed because the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord is hiding here. Senior Bear King, can you destroy the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord? Lin Su thought of the remnant soul of the Heart Demon Lord he met when he got the other half of his original Qinglian clone. If it weren't left by the Life Lord, with the last trace of true spirit to help him, I am afraid that his body has been taken away by his annihilated soul. He is also a Demon Master level existence. Although the Blood Demon Master now only has the last trace of his soul left, looking at his terrifying momentum before, Lin Su felt frightened when he thought about it. With his current strength, he would definitely be dead against the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Master. Although he has already reached the God transformation stage, he is probably no different from an ant in the eyes of such beings, right? The only one we can count on is the Demon King Tyrant Bear King. Destroy its remnant soul? It's not impossible. The Tyrant Bear King's eyes showed a thoughtful look. If it were at the time when the Blood Demon Lord was at its peak, not to mention that the Tyrant Bear King was only at the Demon King level, those who had already ascended to the Holy Throne among the Masters, I am afraid that only that adult can leapfrog the challenge, right? However, the current Blood Demon Master only has the last trace of his soul left, and his strength is not as strong as the billions before. Of course, the Tyrant Bear King is confident that he can kill him, but... Boylin, this Blood Demon Lord is not an ordinary existence. Even if there is only a trace of his soul left, it is not easy to deal with. Grandpa Xiang, I have a limited time to go out now. It will be very difficult to kill him in a short time. When the Tyrant Bear King said this, he saw Lin Su's disappointed look on his face, and suddenly a strange smile appeared on his face. Boylin, since you want to place the mountain gate here, there is no need to talk about the Bloody Master. Remove the soul. Huh, Lin Su raised his eyebrows. The Tyrant Bear King must be confused, right? It is precisely because he wants to place the mountain gate in this ghost valley that he should eliminate the remaining soul of the Blood Demon Lord, right? How could anyone be allowed to sleep soundly beside the bed, let alone such a terrifying demon? Why, you can't understand. The Tyrant Bear King looked at Lin Su with a smile. His proud look made Lin Su roll his eyes and said helplessly, Senior Bear King, please stop showing off. Brother Lin, think about it, how can a being like the Blood Demon Lord find a place to recover? There must be a feng shui treasure in this ghost valley that is extremely rich in spiritual energy, and it should be not far from the blood pool. Boylin, you can just place the mountain gate there. The Tyrant Bear King was still smiling. What about the remnant soul of the Blood Demon Lord? Don't you think it's too dangerous for such a big demon to be by the mountain gate? What's so dangerous? Tyrant Bear King snorted, it's just a trace of a remnant soul. It's not even at the immortal level. How powerful can it be? Senior Xiang King, you can't say that. You are so powerful that you won't take it seriously. I can't do it, kid, and neither can Zuier or the others. You can't protect us all the time, Lin Su said angrily. Rolled his eyes. Grandpa Xiang, I really can't protect you all the time, but I can set up a formation to trap the Blood Demon Master's remnant soul in the blood pool, so that it can't leave the blood pool. At the same time, I can also extract the power of the remnant soul slowly. Kill it, Tyrant Bear King said with a proud look. Set up an array to trap it? Lin Su was stunned, can you still form a formation? As soon as the words came out, he saw the Tyrant Bear King's expression was a little unkind, and Lin Su couldn't help but scoff. What a stupid question he was asking. How could the tyrant bear king, as a demon king, not understand formations? Even if he is not proficient, he should still understand a few immortal formations. It should not be a problem to deal with the current blood demon master's remnant soul. After all, he is not even at the immortal level now. After thinking about it carefully, Lin Su became a little excited again. This method of the tyrant bear king is great. Once there is the remnant soul of the blood demon lord blocking the front, even if an enemy passes through the dense forest of death, they will definitely not be able to pass through the blood pool. This is an additional natural barrier. Secondly, you can extract the power of the remnant soul of the blood demon master, and you will have the energy source to set up the mountain protection formation. This will save you a lot of spiritual stones. Not bad. Thinking of this, Lin Su looked at the tyrant bear king somewhat flatteringly and said, "Senior Bear King, when do you plan to set up the formation? What's the hurry? You first find the treasure place where the mountain gate is placed." "I'll go find it right now." Lin Su agreed excitedly, and his figure disappeared from the spiritual field space, and he couldn't wait to go out to find the treasure. Coming out of the spirit field space, Lin Su found himself in a canyon. The road under his feet was only more than 1 foot wide. There were steep mountain walls on both sides. The height was definitely above 10,000 feet. Lin Su's current position was in the canyon. In the very center, there was a faint smell of blood coming from behind. Needless to say, it was the blood pool where he came just now. Lin Su was so frightened just now. After being taken away from the blood pool by the tyrant bear king, he ran away without even having time to see where he was. Entered the spirit field space. After carefully observing for a while, there seemed to be no danger, and Lin Su slowly walked forward along the road of the canyon. The canyon was not too long, only less than a few miles. As it gradually approached the end of the canyon, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth became obviously abundant. Lin Su thought of the words of the tyrant bear king. It seemed that the treasure land should be right ahead. Got it? Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 288. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth is so abundant. This must be the treasure land that Senior Bear King mentioned. After leaving the canyon, Lin Su once again saw a large lake in front of him, but it was not the smelly blood water like the previous blood pool, but rippling blue waves. The lake is surrounded by towering cliffs like clouds. It seems that the entrance to the canyon trail is a long and narrow island in the center of the lake. If you look down from the air, you will find that the shape of the island is very similar to the shape of a dragon, but this dragon only has the shape of a dragon. The other half of the smaller body seemed to have been cut off at the waist. The place where dragons are buried. It turns out that a semi-holy true dragon fell here. No wonder the remnant soul of the blood demon lord chose this place to hide. The voice of the tyrant bear king rang in Lin Su's heart. A place where dragons are buried? A true dragon at the semi-saint level? Senior Bear King, don't tell me that the island in front of you is the body of a true dragon. Lin Su's eyes widened and he pointed at the small island in the center of the lake and screamed. Road. That's right. It's the body of a true dragon, and it's a half-saint level true dragon, Tyrant Bear King said firmly, and then became a little puzzled. It's really strange, how could a half-saint level true dragon fall here? With the stability of the spirit world, even a corpse shouldn't be able to bear it. Perhaps it's because there's only a small half of the dragon body left? Hey, why are you thinking so much? As long as this is a treasured place where the mountain gate can be placed, it'll be fine. Lin Su raised his legs and walked onto the lake nonchalantly, stepping on the water to the small walking to the island. Although there are restrictions on flying in this ghost valley, it is not difficult for Lin Su to simply walk on the waves. Senior Bear King, is there no danger on this island? Not long after, Lin Su came to the edge of the island. He was about to jump onto the island, but he stopped and asked carefully. How come there are so many dangers? Boy Lin, the more you live, the less courageous you become. Lin Su couldn't see the expression on the tyrant bear king's face, but he could imagine that he must have a look of disgust on his face now. It's okay to be careful. Lin Su didn't take it seriously at the tyrant bear king's contempt. This was a ghost valley. After experiencing the previous horrific experiences, even the boldest people would probably become cautious. However, the tyrant bear king's words still made Lin Su feel a lot more at ease, and he jumped onto the island. The island is not too big. The widest point is only a few miles, and the length is only dozens of miles. It is said to be a small half of a dragon's body, but in fact, apart from the dragon's head, it only reaches the first dragon's claw. The entire island is extremely rich in aura of heaven and earth, especially at the dragon's head. There is even a spiritual spring between the two dragon horns, which is completely liquefied by the extremely condensed aura of heaven and earth. Lin Su can only feel the acupuncture points all over his body when standing next to it. All the orifices opened automatically and frantically absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and there was even a feeling that the cultivation level was rapidly improving. Of course, this was just an illusion, but it was enough to show how abundant the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was here. The tyrant bear king was right, this it is indeed a treasure. This is it. With a thought in Lin Su's mind, a shining green ball came out from his Dantian and landed on the mountain wall made of dragon horns on the left side of Lin Quan and merged into it. With a slight smile, Lin Su raised his legs and walked towards the mountain wall. A wave of ripples like water rippled up, and Lin Su's figure disappeared on the stone wall and entered the spirit field space. Start interacting. Sitting cross-legged on the rosette left behind after the natal green lotus disappeared in the spiritual field space, Lin Su formed several dharma seals with his hands and gave a soft drink. A huge Tai Chi pattern suddenly appeared in the mid-air of the linked yin space. The two yin and yang fishes turned into two whirlpools, but one was constantly sucking in a large amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy full of soul energy, while the other was absorbing the spirit energy. The original spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the Tian space was pumped out to the outside world. With this interaction of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the power of the world in the spiritual field space began to change. A trace of soul spiritual power was generated from under the earth and rose through the surface of the earth. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the spiritual field space began to change. The richness increased rapidly, and gradually it was no less than the outside world. The soul energy and spiritual power contained in it far exceeded the outside world. The interaction between the two vortexes with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth also slowly slowed down, and finally stopped, and the yin and yang fish disappeared. Not see. Lin Su, who was sitting cross-legged on the rosette, suddenly opened his eyes, and there seemed to be lightning and thunder, and the light and shadow of the birth and death of all things flashing through his eyes. Boy Lin, you really are yours. You can think of such a method. The tyrant bear king walked out of the bear's den at some point and sat next to Lin Su, looking at Lin Su in his eyes. There is a hint of appreciation. It's just a coincidence, he, Lin Su chuckled. In fact, he was already overjoyed. He really hadn't thought about it. He just wanted to increase the concentration of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the spiritual field space. He didn't expect that it could actually make the spiritual field space more dense. Evolution, along with his own cultivation, also made breakthroughs. That's right, the spirit field space has evolved, and Lin Su's current cultivation has reached the peak of the early stage of divine transformation. Not only did Lin Su himself not expect this, but even the tyrant bear king who gave Lin Su the hint was somewhat unexpected. Tyrant Bear King originally suggested that Lin Su place the spiritual field space as the mountain gate on the island, the spiritual field space as the inner gate, and build the outer gate on the island, similar to the relationship between the Sword God sect and Xiang Dongtian in the human world. Lin Su indeed planned to do this, but Lin Su himself took an extra step and wanted to balance the spiritual energy in the spiritual field space with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the outside world, because the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the spiritual field space is much thinner than that in the outside world. And the most important thing is that it does not contain soul energy. Lin Su doesn't want the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the inner gate to be inferior to that in the outer gate. As a result, somehow, the interaction of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth actually triggered the evolution of the spiritual field space. The spiritual field space began to generate soul essence spiritual power on its own, and Lin Su's cultivation also made great progress due to the evolution of the spiritual field space, from the initial stage of entering the initial stage of transformation to the peak of the initial stage of transformation. More importantly, Lin Su realized that his cultivation seemed to be related to the degree of evolution of the spiritual field space, and the progress of either side could drive the other side. The spiritual field space has been settled, and because of the evolution of the spiritual field space, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in it now seems to be slightly higher than that of the outside world. It is time to build an external sect, but this is not just the power of Lin Su alone, but also the power of Zhang Yunfan, the bald man, Zhi Zuyer and several women, and even Hualong Huoyan, so Lin Su plans to seek everyone's opinions and brainstorm. However, there is a prerequisite, that is, to bring everyone in. Senior Bear King, I'm counting on you. The passage from here to the outside world must pass through the blood pool and the death forest. Lin Su doesn't want to go there again, so naturally he can only rely on the tyrant Bear King. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 289. The blood pool is okay. It is protected by the tyrant Bear King. The blood demon master now only has a trace of the remnant soul that is not at the immortal level. There is nothing he can do to Lin Su, but Lin Su really doesn't want to leave the dense forest of death again. That feeling of dead silence can really drive people crazy. Boy Lin, you have already planned it, right? The tyrant Bear King looked at Lin Su unkindly, and was unhappy with the smile on his face. This bastard knows how to exploit himself. Hee, look at what you said, am I that kind of person? Lin Su smiled like a dog. Senior Bear King, you have great magical powers. What if I let this great immortal like you go and take silly risks instead of paying homage to me? That's blasphemy against you, Senior, isn't it? You know how to talk, everyone likes to hear good words, and the tyrant Bear King is no exception. He sniffed with some pride. The tyrant Bear King's face turned from gloomy to bright. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Lin Su smiled, it's very simple. Just ask Senior Bear King to set up a teleportation point on the island, and place the other end at a hidden location at the entrance to the jungle of death. Searched Can on Google. The tyrant Bear King is a master at the level of the Demon King. As long as he knows the space nodes, he can tear apart space and travel at any time. For the tyrant Bear King, the distance from the entrance to the jungle of death to the dragon-shaped island outside is nothing. He could teleport over at any time after walking through it once, but what Lin Su wanted was to establish a teleportation channel between the two places. Of course, it was not a teleportation circle, which was too conspicuous. What Lin Su wanted was a higher level and more concealed teleportation point that could only be discovered and used if he had the iconic item. Naturally, Lin Su couldn't do it, but the tyrant Bear King could. How did you know that I would set up a teleportation point? The tyrant Bear King was stunned. Of course you said it yourself, Senior Bear King, Lin Su said with a smile. Speaking of which, the tyrant Bear King himself has a bad mouth. After being praised by Zhi Zuyer and the girls, he boasted a lot, almost destroying all his old skills. The speaker was unintentional and the listener was intentional. Lin Su kept it firmly in mind. What, you can't do it? Senior Bear King, are you bragging? Lin Su looked at Tyrant Bear King with some disgust. Are you kidding? Grandpa Xiang, I am the leader of the 8 Demon Kings. How can it be so difficult for me to do this little thing? Xiangtiou is Xiangtiou. He usually looks quite smart, but a simple provoking method can make him excited. Lin Su secretly smiled in his heart, but his face changed into an expression of admiration and worship as he cupped his fists and saluted the Tyrant Bear King. Senior Bear King is really powerful, so this will trouble Senior. Boy Lin, I can help you set up a teleportation point, but what about the energy to maintain the teleportation? You have to figure it out on your own. The Tyrant Bear King was stunned for a moment, and then he reacted with a swish on his bare face. It got dark. Damn, I fell into this kid's trap again. Hey, Senior, don't lie to me. It's not easy to maintain the energy of teleportation. Just add a magic circle to absorb the aura of heaven and earth at the teleportation point. Anyway, the aura of heaven and earth on this dragon island is enough. Lin Suyi, you can't deceive me with your face, he smiled evilly. This treacherous brat. The Tyrant Bear King had a black hair and rolled his eyes in a speechless manner. Knowing that he was determined to be a coolie, he snorted angrily and stretched out a palm. What a banquet on the 5 tables. Lin Su was stunned and smiled, no problem. I will buy it for Senior when I get back to Pingyang City. No, 5 tables is too cheap for you, kid. I want 10 tables. Seeing Lin Su agreeing so simply, the Tyrant Bear King immediately changed his mind. 10 tables, okay, 10 tables will be 10 tables, Lin Su gritted his teeth. No, 10 tables is still too few. I want. Senior, don't go too far. Lin Su was angry, interrupted the Tyrant Bear King's words, gritted his teeth and said, there are only 10 tables, not one more. This is the spiritual world, and 10 banquet tables are a huge amount of spiritual money. Stone. Then, okay. Then there will be 10 tables, but it must be a good banquet. Seeing Lin Su's angry face, the Tyrant Bear King laughed unnaturally, and smacked his mouth with some regret in compromise. It won't be too late, let's get started. Lin Su turned around still angrily, but with an imperceptible smile on his lips, he walked towards the exit of the linked space. Although the cost of a good banquet on the 10 tables is not small, compared with the teleport point set up by the Tyrant Bear King, he has taken a big advantage. Besides, after the mountain gate is established, the sect protecting formation and the trapped soul of the Blood Demon Lord will be taken advantage of. Doesn't the formation still require the help of the Tyrant Bear King? This deal is not a loss at all. Stepping out from the mountain wall, Lin Su looked around, pointed to the place 5 feet in front of the dragon head and said to the Tyrant Bear King, Senior Bear King, please set the teleportation point there. A strange color flashed in the eyes of the Tyrant Bear King, and he rose into the air and floated to the position pointed by Lin Su, and began to use the magic formula to set up a space teleportation point. Lin Su didn't choose this location randomly. Firstly, after the mountain gate is built, the entire Dragon Island will be covered in it. Setting up a teleportation point here will allow people who teleport to enter the mountain gate through the barrier at the first time. Secondly, come here close to the dragon head, where the aura of heaven and earth is the richest, which can ensure the energy supply to the space transfer point. The Tyrant Bear King was very fast. He set up the space teleportation point in a short while, and then set up a formation on the water surface below the teleportation point to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After firing the last magic formula to activate it, the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged toward the formation, and the space transfer point began to faintly glow with silvery white light. After a while, the formation's absorption of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gradually slowed down, and finally reached a slow but continuous equilibrium state. The space transfer point no longer emitted bright light. At first glance, it was no different from the surrounding environment. If you didn't know, you wouldn't have noticed that there was a space teleportation point here. Senior Xianxia, you are awesome. I admire you, Lin Su flattered him at the right time. It's a joke, it's a joke. Let's go, hurry up and get the other teleportation point ready. I'll buy a banquet for Grandpa Bear, he waved his hand somewhat proudly, and the tyrant Bear King grabbed Lin Su, the ground broke through the space and disappeared in place. Lin Su only felt a change of light and shadow in front of his eyes. When he regained clarity, he was already outside the dense forest of death. It was so easy. He came out all at once. Recalling the trembling appearance when he entered it and the experience of being so depressed that he was almost going crazy in the depths of the jungle of death, Lin Su felt a sudden feeling between his legs. A slight feeling of pain. Boy Lin, where do you want to set the teleportation point? The tyrant Bear King stretched out his hand and waved it in front of Lin Su. Hey, why are you so dazed? Oh, let me think about it. Lin Su came back to his senses, looked around, then raised his legs and walked towards the dense forest of death. Boy Lin, are you going to the wrong place? Tyrant Bear King shouted in confusion. Senior Bear King, just follow me, Lin Su said without looking back, and continued walking towards the dense forest of death. After entering the jungle of death for more than 10 meters, Lin Su cast his eyes on the bushes next to a big tree. This is it. He turned back and pointed at the tyrant Bear King. Senior Bear King, just set the teleportation point there. The tyrant Bear King glanced at the bush that Lin Su pointed at, then looked around, with a strange expression on his face as if he understood something, and smacked his mouth and said, Boy Lin, you are really insidious. Loki, Lin Su chuckled, but he was a little surprised. His intentions were immediately seen through by the tyrant Bear King. This guy is really weird. Sometimes he is extremely smart, and sometimes he is stupid. Lin Su did have bad intentions in setting the teleportation point here. To put it bluntly, he was just trying to trick people. Think about it, if there is an enemy following, and the members of your sect burrow into the bushes and teleport away, even if the enemy burrows into the bushes right after them, the teleportation cannot be triggered, and the line of sight is limited. If you block it, you will definitely feel that the opponent is running forward. It would be fine if the enemy stopped here, but if they continue to chase, they will go deep into the jungle of death. When the time comes, The space transfer point was quickly set up. Lin Su checked it and nodded with satisfaction. Well, very good, perfect. At least he would never have seen any clues if he didn't know it in advance. Don't worry, Mr. Lin. Grandpa Xiang, I will be absolutely foolproof. If you are not at the immortal level, you won't be able to find the teleportation point in this space. Well, even if you find the teleportation talisman without me, you will definitely not be able to break it. Tyrant Bear King, he patted his chest and said, don't worry when I do the work. Then he pulled out a few hairs from his body, inserted 2 magic formulas into them, and handed them to Lin Su. You can trigger the teleportation with this teleportation talisman. Grandpa Xiang, I'm going back first. You kid, hurry up and bring me a banquet. This is the teleportation talisman. Lin Su looked at the few bare hairs in his hand and felt speechless for a while. This was 2 cut corners. He was about to complain a few words when he saw the tyrant Bear King burrowing into the bushes. It disappeared in a flash. By the way, now that the spirit field space has been fixed on Dragon Island, the Bear King cannot stay outside for any longer. Lin Su reacted after being stunned, shook his head with a smile, and then turned towards the outside of the dense forest of death. Go. After returning to Pingyang City, Lin Su first went to the city restaurant to buy 20 tables of banquets, 10 of which were the rewards promised to the tyrant Bear King. The other 10 tables were planned to be celebrated with everyone when the mountain gate was completed. The number was small. That's no good. Don't forget that besides the Tyrant Bear King, there are also 2 foodies, the Earth Spirit Pig and the Dragon Tiger Beast. I'm back. Returning to the courtyard of Pingyang City, Lin Su found that everyone was already waiting in the courtyard. There was no surprise when he came in. He couldn't help but feel a little strange. What is your expression? Why are you not excited at all? Dantian has a little field. Author, The Magic Orb Zoo. Chapter 290. Husband, you are back. Everyone looked at each other after hearing this. A sweet smile bloomed on Xianxia's face and she stood up to greet him. The rest of the people also acted in surprise. Lin Su rolled his eyes dejectedly. He glanced at the small figure huddled behind everyone. Who was it if it wasn't the Tuliang pig? He immediately understood that it must have been this guy who leaked his whereabouts again. As the contracted beast of Lin Su, the Earth Spirit Pig cannot completely sense what Lin Su has experienced, but it can at least sense whether Lin Su is in danger, and if the distance is not far, there will be an appearance between the two. An obvious feeling. In fact, the Tulingzu sensed Lin Su's whereabouts the moment Lin Su first entered Pingyang City, and informed everyone that Lin Su had returned and went to the restaurant, so everyone was waiting in the courtyard so neatly. Since they already knew Lin Su came back safely, so naturally he wouldn't be surprised. Little two, get here. Following Lin Su's roar, Tu Lingzu tiptoed in front of Lin Su and looked at Lin Su with a sneer on his face. Well, brother, are you back? No, what happened? Don't you know if something's wrong with me? Lin Su looked coldly at Tu Lingzu with a flattering expression on his face. You are the mouthpiece again, right? Well, I see that everyone is worried about you, so I couldn't help but say, I only said that brother, you are back in Pingyang City, unscathed, and I didn't say anything else. Have you said too little? Lin Su rolled his eyes at Tu Lingzu in annoyance. Seeing him bowing and begging for mercy, most of the anger in his heart disappeared. He turned to look at Xianxia and the others and said, everyone, I have gained a lot from this trip to Ghost Valley. I found a treasure land and have already arranged the spiritual field space. Really? That's great. Lin Zi's attack is indeed unstoppable. Okay. Now we have our own territory, he. Zhang Yunfan and the bald man shouted excitedly, while Hualong Huoyan looked at Lin Su in surprise. With his inherited memory, he naturally knew how difficult it was to find a suitable place to set up a mountain gate in the spiritual world. Easy, especially according to the conditions set by Lin Su, it was almost impossible to accomplish. Unexpectedly, Lin Su actually did it. Didn't I say that Ghost Valley is one of the 7 Jedi in the spiritual world, and it has always been inaccessible? There is a treasure land inside that can build a sect, Jade Rakshasa Shenbyun asked aloud. Jedi is indeed a Jedi. It was with the help of Senior Bear King that I successfully entered the core area of Ghost Valley, but there is indeed a treasure there. Lin Su waved his hand and said, this is a sentence. I can't explain it clearly, just follow me and have a look. Senior Xianxia has set up the space teleportation point, and I'm here to pick you up. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go quickly. Zhang Yunfan was the most positive and shouted to get on the road as soon as he heard it. Everyone tidied up briefly. In fact, there was nothing that needed to be tidied up. Immortal cultivators basically have storage rings to hold their things. Just stuff the things you need into the storage rings. Lin Su led everyone out of Pingyang City. When he passed the city gate, the soldier guarding the gate happened to be the soldier who led him when he first came to Pingyang City. When he saw Lin Su, he smiled and saluted him and said hello. Lin Su naturally also he smiled and nodded to him. A master is a master. There are so many beauties accompanying him. Tisk. Seeing Lin Su being surrounded by 3 beauties, Zi'ai Zhou'er, Ye Ping and Leng Lingyu, Looking quite intimate, the soldier sighed with envy on his face. Lin Su came to the city alone at that time. How long had it been before there were so many beauties accompanying him? Lin Su actually didn't want to be so ostentatious, but the spiritual field space had been placed on Dragon Island. He had no way to take Zizuer and others into his body now, so he could only speed up and rush toward the dense forest of death. Hey, Bing-er, do you think that guy is the guy named Lin Su? Lin Su, who was heading towards the dense forest of death, didn't notice that he had been noticed by a monk in the god transformation stage in mid-air. His person is none other than Shi Donghua of Tiandao sect. It's exactly the same as in the image. Yes, it's that kid. It turns out that this kid has been in Pingyang City all along. I thought he had gone to other cities long ago. It's really hard to find a place after wearing iron shoes. It doesn't take any effort to get there. Let's see where he hides this time. The female monk next to Shi Donghua was Liao Bing. The two of them have been looking for Lin Su's whereabouts these days, but unfortunately they only got Lin Su's name and appearance from the Xianxia temple. But could not find Lin Su. I had originally planned to give up and go to the teleportation hall to garrison again, but I didn't expect to see Lin Su when I left the city gate. Let's go, follow him and see where this kid is going. Shi Donghua glanced at Lin Su and others, and found that besides Lin Su, Zhang Yunfan was also in the god transformation stage, and the other people's cultivations were not weak, so he gave up the idea of kidnapping Lin Su directly and decided to follow him to have a look, waiting for Lin Su and others to separate before taking action. Because Zhang Yunfan and the others were in the spirit field space when Lin Su arrived in the spirit world, it seems to Shi Donghua and others that Lin Su and the others should have met in the spirit world. Liao Bing also thought so and nodded when he heard this. Landed on the ground and followed him from a distance. Strange, why do I always feel like someone is spying on us? Seeing that he was approaching the jungle of death, Lin Su suddenly stopped and looked behind him, but found nothing. Husband, what's wrong with you? Ye Ping'er asked strangely. Nothing. There is a jungle of death ahead, let's go. It seems that no one has any abnormal reaction. Maybe I am too suspicious. Shaking his head, Lin Su continued to lead everyone to the death forest. Huh. We were almost discovered. Isn't this kid's spiritual perception too strong? Behind the bushes half a mile away, Shi Donghua and Liao Bing lifted their bodies from the low slope. Shi Donghua frowned and said, Donghua, I don't understand why we have to hide from them. Just go up and say no. I don't believe that a newcomer will refuse the invitation of our Tiandao League. Liao Bing flicked the dust on her clothes and said with some dissatisfaction. Just now, she was pulled by Shi Donghua to crawl on the ground. This was really hard for her who had some misophobia to accept. Go up and tell him. What if he really refuses? Can you still take him away in front of this group of people? Don't forget that this kid refused the invitation of Xianxia Palace and beat up Zhang Yu and Peng Gao. His strength should not be underestimated. He didn't even give face to Xianxia Palace. Do you dare to guarantee that he will buy into our Tiandao Sect's account? Shi Donghua shook his head and smiled bitterly. Humph, Liao Bing couldn't find a reason to refute, so he could only snort in anger. Okay, stop being so mad, otherwise they will go away. Shi Donghua smiled and stroked Liao Bing's long hair, and continued to follow. I knew you would use this trick. Liao Bing's pretty face was slightly flushed, and she wrinkled her small nose and followed. After following for a while, a forest emitting cold and dead air appeared in front of them. Lin Su and others went into the forest without stopping in the stunned eyes of Shi Donghua and Liao Bing. Death Forest? What are they doing here? Are they trying to enter Ghost Valley? A shocking thought flashed through Shi Donghua's mind, and he immediately shook his head to get rid of this crazy thought. Hurry up! They have already entered the Death Forest. We will lose them if we go too far. Shi Donghua was now more and more curious about the purpose of Lin Su and his companions, and he grabbed Liao Bing and rushed towards the death forest. When Shi Donghua and his companions entered the death forest, Lin Su and his companions had already arrived at the bushes with the space teleportation point. Come, one for each of you. This is the teleportation talisman made by Senior Bear King. The teleportation point is in the bushes. Take it and walk in and it will be triggered. Lin Su distributed the teleportation talisman made by Tyrant Bear King, Bear Hair, to everyone, and pointed to the bushes and said, "The teleportation point is set in the bushes." Hey! Linzi, you can think of it. Zhang Yunfan looked around and laughed. "I'll go first." As he said that, he jumped into the bushes, and his figure twisted and disappeared. "Husband, let's go." "Well, you go first, I'll follow," Lin Su said with a smile. After watching Zizuir and others walk into the bushes one by one, the smile on Lin Su's face disappeared, and he said coldly to the back, "Come out. Aren't you tired after following for so long?" Ha ha ha. As expected of a top genius who has reached the spiritualization stage right after ascending, "Lin Su, you are really amazing." With a loud laugh, Shi Donghua walked out from 10 feet behind him, followed closely by Liao Bing. "Do you know me?" Lin Su's pupils shrank. Could it be someone from Xianxia Palace? As soon as he arrived in the spirit world, he was at the initial stage of spiritualization. He beat Zhang Yu and Peng Gao of Xianxia Palace to a pulp. "You, Lin Su, are the first in 10,000 years. Such a genius, of course, my Tiandao sect attaches great importance to him." Shi Donghua laughed, and there was no lack of praise in his words. "Donghua, why are you so polite to this kid?" Liao Bing walked up from behind Shi Donghua with a cold face and pointed at Lin Su. "Mr. Lin, where are your companions?" When Shi Donghua and Liao Bing arrived, the last Xiang patriarch also teleported away. Because of the trees, the two did not see the teleportation scene, so it was quite strange. "Why should I answer you?" Lin Su said coldly. He didn't have any bad feelings towards the Tiandao League, but he didn't have any good feelings either. He could guess the purpose of the other parties coming. It was nothing more than that they saw his potential like the Xianxia Palace and wanted to recruit him. Shi Donghua's attitude was good, and the boldness he revealed made Lin Su admire it a little, but Liao Bing's attitude was worse, as if he owed her a debt. Lin Su would not tolerate such a woman who relied on her beauty to be so high-spirited. Seeking rewards and monthly tickets.